Welcome to a new segment of Coptic Civilization. I'm Michael Saad. Our segment today is about Old Cairo in two parts before, and I'm honored to host today Mrs. Carolyn Ludwig, who is the editor of the book, Dr. Gawdat Gabra, who is one of the co-authors of the book, and Mr. Bruce Ludwig, who financed the book and was a spiritual and moral and a great support and enabler of creating this book, which is an amazing collection of genius of authors, four co-authors from three religions, Christianity, Islam and Judaism, and Dr. Gawdat Gabra wrote specially on the Coptic Museum, being the former director of the Coptic Museum. Dr. Gertrude van Loon from Leiden University in the Netherlands wrote about Coptic churches and Coptic iconography. And Dr. Stephen Raif wrote about the Jewish tradition in Old Cairo, and Dr. Tariq Swalem wrote about Islamic tradition in Old Cairo. It's amazing that these three religions coexisted in Old Cairo over centuries with peace and coexistence, and they give us now a role model for coexistence and mutual nourishment. We covered many areas in the previous two parts. We'll cover more areas today. I wanted to start with Mr. Bruce Ludwig. What motivated you to support this project?
Well, Carolyn and I have been big fans of Egypt and have gone to Egypt many, many times, Michael. And I think Gawdat is as much responsible as anybody for the first book on the churches of Egypt. But we were inspired by the dedication and the real spirituality of the Christian in Egypt. It's not easy to be a Christian maybe some places in the world, and it's certainly not easy to be a Christian in Egypt. And they are role models, I think, for the rest of the world in terms of the martyrdom that they have gone through. And Carolyn felt that it was important to document that while we could document it. And now with what's going on, obviously, in Egypt and in other parts of the Middle East, it's even more important to have a document that really talks about the importance and the history of the Christian religion in that part of the world as it coexisted with the Jews and with the Muslims. For many, many years, they helped each other, and as you said earlier, as being a role model for what we hope will happen again.
We hope that this book really contributes to the return of the spirit of collaboration among the three religions in Egypt, as the history tells us that it is possible. And one candle in darkness this book is more than a candle. It's more than spotlight, and we thank the three of you and others who collaborated as co-authors, co-editor, and photographers, and we thank especially the American University in Cairo Press, and we thank the three religious leaders who wrote on the back of the book three columns with inspiring statements from His Eminence Anba Pachomius, the acting patriarch of the Coptic Orthodox Church at the time, a year ago, and also the Grand Mufti of Egypt, Dr. Ali Goma, and His Excellency Daniel Kurtzer, the former ambassador of the United States to Egypt with Jewish background. So the book really serves light in the darkness, and we thank you for contributing it and making it a reality. What is a rewarding experience for you from publishing this book and from your earlier book with Dr. Gawdat Gabra, The Churches of Egypt? What's your feeling after these publications are now a reality?
Well, I will be eternally inspired by the Church of Abu Sarga and Bacchus, because that is where the crypt is, where the Holy Family were to stay. And in the early days when we started going to Egypt, when I heard the Holy Family stayed here and it was filled with water then, as a Western Christian, we don't hear these stories. We don't know all of these wonderful things that happened in Egypt, and that's a passion of ours to tell and share with the rest of the world. And the very day that they emptied the water from that crypt, we just happened to be there with a group of people, with the photographer Sharif Sonbal and many others from the inspectors, the Department of Antiquities, and to be able to go down there and feel as though we were standing on the stones that the Holy Family possibly stood on is an amazing feeling. Tourists aren't allowed down there now, but you can look down in there, and it's quite something. And we tried to show in the book of Old Cairo how things have changed through the times for this crypt down there. It's quite lovely.
Great. Dr. Gabra, please explain to us some of these photographs and what inspired you to point to them and in this book, and what message these pictures tell the world?
Well, the Church of St. Sergius and Bacchus, or Abu Sharga, is one of the most ancient churches, and it is venerated by the Copts in Egypt, also by other nations. For example, in the 17th, 16th, 17th, 18th century, the Franciscans, they even paid money to have the honor of the celebration of the Holy Family in the Babylon fortress. Also, pilgrims from Europe, they have two different ways. They came from the west to Jerusalem, and then to St. Catherine in Sinai, where you have Moses and the place of the burning bush, and then to Cairo to be blessed by the cave of blessed by the Holy Family, and then back to the north, to the Mieta or Rosetta, and then again to Europe. So the area is very famous, and I am glad that I have seen the cave and or the crypt before the water came, and while it was drawn, and I'm glad again that no water. I am very grateful to Carolyn Ludwig and Bruce Ludwig, who documented such a very important heritage, and also the project of lowering the water from the side. It is an American aid project, and directed by the American Research Center in Egypt. So we are grateful to all of them, and also to the American University in Cairo Press that published not only these two books, also many other books about the Christian heritage. I am indeed also grateful to the late Mark Lenz, who supported the publication of such books. His time was a fruitful time of publication, not only Christian heritage, but many aspects of the life in Egypt. It is the most important publishing house in the Middle East of foreign language.
Bruce, you as a trustee of the American University in Cairo for many years and visited Cairo, I understand something like 60 or more times in your life. You also did support excavations for the last, what,
35 years, yes. I started in excavation of archaeology and whatever, and we're fortunate enough to have supported the two, I think, most important American archaeologists there, working in the Valley of the Kings and working at the Giza Plateau, the pyramids and the Sphinx and all. And that really got me more and more involved, and then I became a trustee of the American University. And as Professor Gawdat says, the role of American University in Cairo Press, which does 100 books a year in English, published in or not all published in Egypt, but all directed by the AUC Press. And many of them are the most serious Coptic books, picture books, as well as historic books. You have several, Dr. Gawdat. And I think that's a real lesson that we have learned at the American University Cairo Press, is that how receptive the Christian community is in Egypt, particularly when someone embraces their history and then shows it in book form and photo form. It's been an honor.
Yeah. So this book is actually available from the American University in Cairo Press in Egypt. You can buy it in Egypt from AUC Press.
Right.
You can also buy it from America, from AUC Press, or throughout the world. Actually, they have a distribution network. But also you can buy it on the internet from Amazon.com or from Ludwig Publishing Company if you live in the United States, and especially if churches can order a quantity, contact Logos TV to enable you to do that. And actually, an anonymous donor donated quite a number of these books to Logos TV, and it can be sent to you as a gift for free if you donate $500 to Logos TV. So please call the number on the screen now, and or go to the website. The number on screen is more accessible. You can donate by Visa card. And if your donation is more than $500, we'll send you this book for free. And as a gift, you can give it to your children as a gift. You will enjoy reading it, give it to as a graduation gift, or many other occasions. The idea is there are several benefits from that. Learn your Christian heritage, learn the Islamic heritage, learn the Jewish heritage, learn how the Coptic Museum in Cairo is presented in this book by its former director, Dr. Gawdat Gabra. And I would like to ask Dr. Gabra now to, if you would kindly reflect on this church and one of the examples that are given in the book.
In fact, you have many churches of Old Cairo, or all the churches of Old Cairo, in fact, are represented in the book. Not only the beautiful ones, the old ones within the fortress of Babylon, but also outside the fortress. So you have the two churches of San Barbara and San Sergius and Bacchus. They were from the same time. And here we have one of the treasures of, in fact, not only of art, Christian art in Egypt, but all over the world. A beautiful icon of the 13th century of the Virgin and Child, found in the church of San Barbara from the 13th century. It is one of the most important medieval icons in Egypt. This showed that, despite of the difficult time of the Mamluk period, that the Christians of Egypt continued to produce art and continued to show their individual Christian art of Egypt, despite the harder times of the Mamluk period. So also you have a beautiful ambon, and these ambons are beautifully decorated with slabs, colored slabs of marble and other stones. And also the basilican type of the church, the two churches, especially of St. Sergius and St. Barbara, shows how the architecture in the Coptic churches very, very well done. And the basilican type, in fact, it is you find it in Karnak in ancient Egypt, then you find it in Rome, and then back to from Egypt to Rome, and then from Rome back to Egypt in the Christian churches. So the churches also of old Cairo, they represent a great heritage and shows the cooperation and the influence of Egypt, and also the interactions between the cultures of the world.
What is this picture that we are looking at? Is this another place in Old Cairo? I cannot recognize it yourself. Would you?
It's the Coptic Church of St. George, and Sharif, when Sharif was there, he discovered...
Sharif is the photographer.
Sharif Sonbol, yes.
Sharif Sonbol, yeah. What a wonderful photographer. He really amazes me, his pictures.
He is. He really, and he got to know the people so well that they would show him things that were hidden or that hadn't been seen in a long time. So we had the joy of listening to him and finding out what he found from time to time.
Wow. This is amazing photographs. Wow.
This is for the first time published. This is the one which Carolyn speak about, and Sharif Sonbol showed it to Gertrude van Loon, who published it for the first time. So we have also documentation in the book of non-known monuments or little-known monuments.
Yes.
I see here a wall painting, right? That is amazing. Are these ancient things?
You don't find these anymore. I mean, they were burned when the Church of the Basil burned down, and one of the one of the priests shared this with us.
True. This is one of the civil engineers who worked in Old Cairo, Mr. Ramzi Naguib. He contacted people who photographed the church before its fire in 1979, and I am glad that it is now available to everybody, a good documentation, not published elsewhere. Yeah. So this book, in fact, is a great documentation, and I hope that once Mr. Bruce Ludwig will help us to publish a book about the churches of Greater Cairo, including the Old Cairo, which have already, and the other churches of Cairo, which we have already in the churches of Egypt.
Yes.
So we have all the material. We need you both to push us to have this.
Well, we're very proud to have done the Churches of Egypt book, which the Coptic community has really embraced, and thanks to Michael's urging us to speak at several Coptic churches here in Southern California and around. You talked, Michael, about supporting this financially. That's true. But the real reward comes when you see the Coptic Christians, come and see the presentation, and they weep because they have not been home, haven't been to Egypt for a long time. They bring their children in to say, this was the church that we were married in, this was the church, whatever, and they hadn't seen anything like this for a long time, and they didn't realize how important the Coptic religion is today in Cairo, and that these young children were very proud.
Yes. The Copts have been nation builders, and it's manifested during since the revolution, before the revolution, and after the January 2011 revolution. And they have been nation building for 2,000 years, for 7,000 years. So people who built the pyramids, their grandchildren who became what's known now as the Copts, built churches, built monuments, built civil works, dig the canals from the Fustat to
Trajan.
the Red Sea, from Old Cairo to the Red Sea, as we have seen in part 2 of this for previous segments of Old Cairo. And now we can also see the cosmopolitan Old Cairo, where mosques, synagogues, and churches lived together, and other Christian denominations. For example, the Greek Orthodox Church that we see in the in this photograph, which is St. George.
Yes.
What attracted you to this church, Carolyn?
Oh, well, architecturally, it's unique, especially built in the round. The Ethiopian Orthodox build their churches in the round, but this is just because they utilized that old fort, and it's incredibly beautiful inside and very well done. As you can see, it's red marble. It's pristine. They did have a fire in the 90s.
Yes, the late of the 19th century.
Right,
Yeah.
and so it's relatively newish, but it's really beautiful. And then there is the prison of St. George there, supposedly where he was martyred, and that's quite interesting to see. It brings history alive.
Yeah, it's amazing. This church combines both old architecture and new architecture, and it's amazing. You get feeling of awe.
Yes, and they
when
had the
you
privilege
visit.
of using the different levels
Yes.
of the fort. So it's in like 3 different levels.
Yes.
And so quite interesting to go into.
Yes.
Not all tourists get to go there.
Right.
Yes. Underneath.
Yes, yes. I remember seeing there either replica or the original chains
Yes.
that St. George have been tortured by.
Yes.
As we come to the conclusion of the program, I thank you so much, Mr. Bruce Ludwig, Mrs. Carolyn Ludwig, and Professor
Thank you
Gawdat
very much.
Gabra
Thank you.
for graciously coming to our program and enlightening us. I hope you come again after the book launch to inspire us about the book launch that has happened in Cairo. And again, we are grateful for divine providence that provided us with this excellent volume, Old Cairo. From Logos TV, I'm Michael Saad. Thank you for watching.